A startling new revelation about nuclear agreements with Iran. The International Atomic Energy Agency will allow Iran to use its own inspectors to investigate at least one of their own nuclear sites. That disclosure has intensified questions about the deal. I'm joined now by Israel's ambassador to the United States, Ron Dermer. Ambassador Dermer, thanks for being with us.
Good to be with you.
First of all, what is your reaction to this revelation?
Well, it's a farce. One of the things that was supposed to be resolved in this agreement was supposed to be the possible military dimensions of Iran's nuclear program. Iran has cheated many times in the past, and they were supposed to have to come clean about their past activities. And now we're being told that Iran is going to provide its own samples to be tested. Imagine somebody would be suspended from the NFL for abuse of drugs. And then the NFL would sign an agreement with that player that from now on, they would provide their own urine samples to be tested in the future. Would anyone say that this is acceptable? Of course it's not. This is absurd, it's a farce, and it's another reason why this deal should be rejected. How
concerned are you about the impression that there might be possibly other side deals out there?
Well, we know that there's a couple of side deals. Apparently, from what was reported, this was side deal number 2. But there's other documents out there. We don't know was agreed. There's a lot of questions that haven't been answered that came up during the debate. A question, for instance, that no one has answered. Will Congress be allowed to extend the sanctions that they have already put in place so that when you snap back sanctions, you have some sanctions to snap back to? That's an answer that the administration has not given. There's a lot of things that are unknown. But I'll tell you the big problem with the deal, it's not the side agreements. It's what we do know. And this is a deal that paves a path for Iran to not only have 1 or 2 bombs, but an entire nuclear arsenal.
Let me ask you about the White House. President Obama has said that he has Israel's best interests at heart, and he's been vocal about how Israel is the only nation that is opposed to a deal with Iran. Here's what he had to say a couple of weeks ago. Let's listen.
This is the strongest non-proliferation agreement ever negotiated. And because this is such a strong deal, every nation in the world that has commented publicly, with the exception of the Israeli government, has expressed support. This deal ultimately must be judged by what it achieves on the central goal of preventing Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon. This deal does exactly that. I say this as someone who has done more than any other president to strengthen Israel's security. And I have made clear to the Israeli government that we are prepared to discuss how we can deepen that cooperation even further. Already we've held talks with Israel on concluding another 10-year plan for U.S. security assistance to Israel.
You heard what the president said there. Do you think the president means what he says when he says he cares about Israel's security?
Yes, I do. And I think when he says that he thinks this deal makes America safer and Israel safer, I think he's being totally sincere. We just disagree with the judgment of what's going to happen. This deal does not prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. People should ask themselves, if this deal prevented Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, why is Israel opposed to it? That's the greatest threat that we face. We oppose this deal because it paves a path to Iran getting a nuclear weapon. At best, it delays it for a few years. At best, if Iran does not violate it. Believe me, a deal that would do what the president just said, that would truly prevent Iran from developing a nuclear weapon, would be embraced by all of Israel. Israel rejects this deal. All the Arab states in the region, with the exception of Assad-led Syria, they reject the deal. They are more hesitant to comment publicly about it than we are, and there are reasons for that. But we know exactly what they think about this deal. And I would remind everybody, 20 years ago, the entire world supported the deal with North Korea. A president of the United States at the time said it was going to make the world safer. It was going to prevent North Korea from getting a nuclear weapon. It was going to bring them into the community of nations. Now we know that North Korea has about 12 bombs, nuclear bombs, and could have 100 nuclear bombs in a few years. And this morning you saw how dangerous that situation can be in the Korean Peninsula and how that could flare up. Believe me, we would love to embrace a deal that would prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons. This is not that deal.
But why would other countries not speak up against this deal if they were concerned?
They're very concerned, but you know what? They don't have the same confidence to speak the truth, because they're worried that if they say something and that maybe the administration or others or oppose or on the other side, that they will pay a very, very heavy price for doing it. We have a lot of confidence in our friendship, in our alliance with the United States. We believe that friends can speak the truth to each other.
You know, there's a vote coming up in Congress. Does Israel think that it can beat the president and stop this deal from going through?
It's not about beating the president. This is not a personal issue with the president. I understand that this is the single most important foreign policy priority of the President of the United States, and obviously that's a very big deal. This is about the future of the State of Israel. We see this deal as threatening the survival of the State of Israel, not because there's any ill intent by the President or the Secretary of State of anybody there, because of our judgment of what will happen in the real world if this deal goes through, how it will pave a path for Iran to get nuclear weapons, how it will nuclearize the Middle East over the next decade, how it's going to free up hundreds of billions of dollars over the next decade for Iran to use to wage a campaign of terror and aggression in the region. And Iran is saying they're going to do that. They're not even lying. They are saying we are going to continue our policies. There's no change in Iran. And you're leaving the foremost sponsor of terror in the world with an advanced nuclear capability today and no limits with an industrial nuclear capability tomorrow. That's very dangerous, and we hope it's going to be rejected. Whether that will happen, we don't know. There's a lot of people who are deciding. They're looking into it. We're speaking to them. We're making our views clear, and that's why I'm here today.
Given the concerns that you just outlined, what happens if this deal does go through? How will that affect the U.S. relationship with Israel?
Well, look, we're going to have to work together no matter what happens. We have no better friend and ally in the world than the United States of America. We don't think America has a better ally than Israel. We share your values, we share your interests, and we're going to have to deal with all the challenges in the Middle East together. We think this deal will increase the challenges that we're going to face. They're going to increase the dangers we're going to have to face together. But either way, whatever the vote is, on that day after, the U.S. and Israel are going to have to work together.
All right. Ambassador Ron Dermer, thank you so much.
Thank you.